Hi guys, welcome to my coffee show. My name is Jack and today we are talking about variable RPM. What do they do? How do they work? What do they change? How they affect your coffee? Which RPM to choose for your espresso and the pour over? This will be just my kind of introduction into that subject. I won't be digging too deep into it. I just want to give you some basics. Maybe you just got your grinder and you don't know what to do with that RPMs. At some point that option was only reserved to the high-end grinders. Now you can find them in a very affordable grinders. For today's video I will use my DF83V as an example. Big thank you to Joe from Espresso Outlet for sending us this unit. It has quickly become one of my favorite grinders, and if you are looking for something in this price range you won't find anything better than that. Comes with strong engine, magnetically attached chute, magnetically attached cup, and as I mentioned, variable RPMs. To change it you rotate the knob on the side of the grinder. It ranges between 300 and 1600 and you change that RPM by 100. I will tell you exactly what are my favorite settings later on, but first let's think about what it actually changes. The producers very often very vague on that subject. Apart from stating the obvious that the higher the RPMs the faster the burrs will be moving, you don't get that many answers, or not many straight answers, and the reason is that still nobody really knows for sure what's going on. So the way I see it, the way I understand it, the higher the RPMs, the higher the amount of fines in your coffee. Unfortunately I don't have that machine that checks the coffee particles, so I have to rely on my senses and checking the time of the extraction. Now another thing to discuss here is the temperature of your grinds. During the grinding process, through the friction, grinder produces heat. That heat affects the grinds. How it affects, I'm not so sure, but some commercial grinders, they praise themselves for having some like a cooling system, so they say that the coffee, even if you grind 500 shots in an hour, the coffee will stay at the same temperature, and they say that's very important for the overall taste of the coffee. The highest the RPMs, the faster you grind. With standard DLC burrs on DF83V, you can grind in 3-4 seconds, 18 grams of coffee. Now if I move to 300, it can take a minute, so obviously that process will be longer, will be more heat. How this will affect the flavors of the coffee? Some people would point to the roasting process where the coffee withstands what, 200 degrees Celsius, so that few degrees here and there during the grinding should not affect it. Some people would probably mention volatile compounds, and through that increased temperature the volatile compounds would be leaving faster the coffee, so you would be left with less taste, and so on and so on. To be honest, I don't know the answer. I will leave the investigation for Lance or some other smart people. Another thing that some people mention is the alignment of the burrs. I'm talking here about the vertical versus parallel burrs. So apparently the burrs that are vertical versus the burrs that are parallel would respond differently with different RPMs. Another thing is that what kind of burrs are you using? DF83V comes with two burrs, one for espresso, one for the pour over. Standard burrs are DLC coated diamond-like carbon coated burrs, but you can also upgrade to other burrs. I played with SSP cast burrs in some of my previous videos. I really like those burrs. Right now I have MP burrs. The MP burrs by nature they produce less fines, so you may not want to go too low for them when you choose your RPMs for espresso or pour over. Cast burrs they tend to produce a little bit more fines, and if you don't like it or if you want to go for more clarity, go a little bit lower. And obviously the coffee, some coffees they produce more fines, some coffees they produce less fines, so you can either magnify it or prevent it by changing the RPM. Lots of variables here with that variable RPMs. As you know, making espresso at home, it is a rabbit hole. So you ask Jack, which RPMs to choose? Which RPMs to choose for espresso? Which RPMs to choose for the pour over? And I will give you a straight answer here, but this is based just on my experience. I cannot tell you what to like. You have to discover that yourself. So I think the best way to do it, let's use DF83V as an example, and it works both for espresso and pour over. Dial the coffee in for 1600 RPMs. I did it today. The shot took 30 seconds. Then reduce the RPMs to 300. Pull the shot. First thing you notice that the shot on 1600 will take longer than the shot on a 300 RPMs. That's by the way another thing that the variable RPMs can change. I don't know why would you do it, but instead of changing grind settings you can change the RPMs, and that will change the time of extraction. The shot on the lower speed it took 22 seconds, so massive gap. If you taste it right right now. Obviously there will be differences. So what I would say, when you pull the shot for the 300, change the grind settings, so grind slightly finer. And once you have those two shots pulled at the similar time, then you can taste. At 1600 the shot will be thicker, there will be punch to that shot, but it can be muddy. The characteristics of the coffee might be gone, it might be too bitter. It might be very good for a milk-based drinks. At 300 RPMs there will be much less body, you will notice that. That's the great way to develop your senses, your coffee tasting senses. You would expect, okay, at 300 the shot should be perfect, I'm chasing the nuances, there should be much less fines, I should be able to taste everything. If you go too low, very often the shot will be flat. You will know what I'm saying when you try it. You need some of that body, you need some of that fines to give you that punch, to give you that extra flavor, so you don't want to reduce it too much. If you like more the shot at max RPMs, that would probably mean you prefer more body in the coffee. Then maybe go from 1600, maybe go to 1200, and that would still have body, but it will give you some clearer taste. If you like more that shot at 300 RPMs, then maybe change the RPMs to 500. You will still have clarity, but the shot should be more overall pleasant. I promised you straight answers, so I will give it to you. My favorite RPMs for pour over would be between 5 and 600. That gives me clarity, that gives me crispiness in my pour over, that allows me to develop all the flavor notes that I'm looking for in my pour over. For cast burrs, I sometimes go to 400 if I feel like I'm getting too much body. For MP burrs, I might go to 600. Now for the espresso, for the cast burrs, I'm usually at 500, but what I would recommend for most of the burrs, especially those standard burrs, I would start with 800 RPMs. That seems like a great balance between nice body and also the clarity. It also nicely presents the character of the coffee. That's it, guys. That's my intro into the variable RPMs. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was so, then definitely click like, consider subscribing to the channel, plenty more things coming. If you try to experiment with different RPMs, let me know what is your favorite RPMs for the espresso, for the pour overs. If you agree with me or if you disagree with me, please leave the comments there. But for today, thank you very much for watching. My name is Jack, this is my coffee show, and hopefully I will see you soon. Thank you, bye!